Most people walk out of an interview already knowing they didn't get it, and almost none of them can tell you exactly where it went wrong. I can. It usually went wrong in the opening moments, on the very first answer they gave. Not their CV, not their experience, not some impossible question buried deep in the conversation. One answer, near the start, quietly decides whether the next 40 minutes flow in their favor or whether they spend the whole time trying to climb back out of a hole they dug for themselves. And the strange part is, the person digging the hole almost never feels it happening. I'm Dre. I've spent a long time watching how hiring actually works from the inside, seeing who gets the offer and who gets the polite rejection that says we went with someone whose experience was a closer fit. And I'll tell you something most career advice tiptoes around. Interviews are very often won or lost on the first real answer. And that first answer is almost always a response to the same question, just wearing slightly different clothes each time. Tell me about yourself. Walk me through your background. So, who are you? Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to answer it and how to turn the single most underestimated moment in the room into the reason they remember you. Let's start with why this question carries so much weight, because that's the part people get backwards. Most candidates treat "tell me about yourself" as a friendly warm-up, a bit of small talk before the real interview begins. It is not. It is asked early precisely because it hands the interviewer an enormous amount of information in a very short space of time. In 30 seconds of you talking, they're quietly measuring how clearly you think under pressure, how you organize information when nobody structured it for you, whether you actually understand your own value, and how relevant you are to the job they're trying to fill. First impressions are doing real work here. A sharp answer to this one question sets the tone for everything that follows. Get it right, and you spend the rest of the interview building on momentum. Get it wrong, and you spend the rest of the interview in recovery mode, which is a much harder place to perform from. So here's what's really going on under the surface. When an interviewer leans back and says, "Tell me about yourself," they are not asking for your life story, and they are absolutely not asking where you grew up. What they're actually asking is four silent questions all at once. Who are you, professionally? What experience and skills are you bringing to this table? What are you genuinely good at? And the big one underneath all of it, why should we hire you instead of the next person we're seeing this afternoon? Every candidate who rambles, drifts into personal territory, or simply recites their CV from top to bottom is failing to answer those four questions, and they're losing marks before the interview has properly warmed up. The interviewer isn't being unfair when that happens. They're just listening for signal, and when you give them noise instead, they have no choice but to mark you down against the person who gave them something clean. Hold on to that idea, because here's something people forget in the moment. The people across the table are usually on your side. They've often been interviewing all day. They're tired of it, and they would love nothing more than for you to be the one. They want to stop interviewing and hire someone. Your job is to make that decision easy for them, and it starts with this answer. Now let me show you the mistakes I see again and again, because they're rarely dramatic, which is exactly why they're dangerous. Strong candidates, people with real experience and real results, undermine themselves in small, quiet ways. They talk for too long and don't know when to stop. They ramble with no structure, so the good material gets buried. They open with personal background, the where I'm from and what I studied, and burn their best 30 seconds on the least relevant information. They list responsibilities instead of achievements, which makes them sound like a job description rather than a person who gets things done. And they forget to explain why they actually want this role and how it fits the direction they're heading. On their own, none of these are fatal. Stacked together, they blur your message into noise. And in an interview, a blurry message reads as a lack of confidence, whether you feel confident or not. Clarity is what reads as confidence. So how do you fix all of it at once? You stop improvising and you start working from a structure. Let me give you one. It's simple, it's easy to remember, and it works at any level in any sector because it mirrors the exact order interviewers are thinking in. I call it ICAN. I for introduction, C for career and achievements, A for attributes and skills, N for next step. And then there's an optional plus on the end, a small personal touch if it fits. ICAN plus a little extra. The reason this works everywhere is that it's not a trick. It's just the shape of the information they're already trying to pull out of you. Hand it to them in the right sequence. Let's walk through each piece. Start with the introduction. This is 1 or 2 sentences that tell them who you are professionally and nothing else. Your name, your profession, your qualifications if they're relevant, your current title, the number of years you've been doing it, and the kind of organization you've been doing it in. That's it. This is your opening line, so it has to land cleanly and project quiet competence. You're not building suspense here, you're planting a flag. Then move to career and achievements. This is a brief, high-level overview, and the word brief matters. Not your full history, not a year-by-year tour, just enough context to show progression and relevance. Start with your most recent role, then touch on the key roles before it that built toward where you are now. Then comes the part most people skip or fumble, the achievements. Pick 3, just 3. For each one, give a sentence or 2 that captures the problem you faced, what you actually did about it, and the result that came out of it. Recent and above all relevant to this specific role. Because this is the moment you stop describing yourself and start proving you add value. An achievement with a number attached to it is worth 10 responsibilities without one. Next, attributes and skills. This is where you name the core strengths you're bringing. And here's the move that separates people who've prepared from people who are winging it. Before the interview, go back to the job description and pull out the top 3 things they say they're looking for. Then make sure those 3 show up here, in your own words, backed by something real. You are quietly matching yourself to the role, point for point. Mirror the language they used in the advert where you can, because when your answer echoes their own words, you make it almost effortless for them to score you as a fit. You're handing them the connection instead of hoping they make it themselves. Then the N, the next step. This is a single sentence, sometimes 2, explaining why you've applied and why this role is the right next move for you right now. It sounds small, but candidates who skip it come across as directionless, like they take any job that called back. One clear sentence about motivation and fit fixes that completely. It tells them you chose them on purpose. And finally, the optional plus. If it suits the tone, one light sentence about an interest or something you do outside work. Keep it brief, keep it relevant, and keep it human. It softens the ending and, done well, it becomes one more small reason to like you. If it doesn't fit the room, leave it out. It's a garnish, not a course. Now here's the insight most people miss entirely, and it has nothing to do with the words. Even a perfect structure falls flat if the delivery is off. So practice this out loud, not in your head. In your head, everything sounds smooth. Out loud is where you find the awkward joins and the sentences that run out of breath. Aim for a delivery that's calm rather than rushed and confident rather than memorized. Because there's a real difference between knowing your answer and reciting it like a hostage reading a statement. Confidence here doesn't come from natural talent. It comes from having said the thing enough times that it stops being scary. And once this answer is genuinely prepared, something shifts. You stop being interviewed and you start steering the conversation. You decide which achievements they hear first. You decide which strengths to plant in their mind before they've even asked a follow-up. That's not manipulation. It's just preparation doing what preparation does. And the candidate who's done it always looks calmer than the one who hasn't. Let me put the whole thing together so you can hear how it actually sounds. Picture a team leader answering. My name is included. I'm a qualified team leader with 6 years of experience in customer services within the finance sector. For the last 4 years, I've managed a team of 15, looking after telephone and online support across the full week. In that role, I recruit, train, and develop the team. I consistently hit the service targets the business sets, and I handle the escalated complaints that come up from the floor. My 3 proudest results: I was promoted from frontline representative to team leader inside 2 years. I delivered a 25% lift in our customer satisfaction scores over 12 months. And my team won an internal service award at the company's annual meeting this year. In terms of strengths, I'm a strong team builder. I cut staff turnover in my team by 20% year on year. And I'm an effective communicator across customers, my own people, and senior management. The last few years have taught me how to lift service quality, and I see this role as the chance to do that with a larger team, which is exactly the step I'm looking to take. Outside work, I help run a local theater group as production coordinator, which is more organizing than acting, and I genuinely enjoy it. Listen to what that did. It moved cleanly through who they are, what they've done, what they bring, and why they want the job. No rambling, no life story, no list of duties. Just structure carrying strong material to exactly where it needs to land. People always ask me how long this answer should be, and there's no fixed rule. But here's my guide. For entry-level roles, aim for 1 to 2 minutes. For senior roles, you can stretch to 2 or 3, sometimes a little more because there's more progression to walk through. The mistake is going long because you're nervous and feeling silence. Long is not impressive. Tight and relevant is impressive. And here's a top tip that almost nobody uses. Finish your answer by handing a question back to the panel. Something simple, like, I'm happy to go deeper on any part of that. Is there an area you'd like me to expand on? What you've just done is turn a monologue into a conversation. And conversations build rapport in a way that performances never do. It also signals you're comfortable, which is its own quiet form of confidence. So here's the truth I want you to walk away with. Most candidates aren't losing out because they're short on experience. They're losing because they're short on structure. And the moment you fix that one thing, everything downstream gets easier. The follow-up questions feel less like ambushes. Your examples come out cleaner. Even your nerves settle, because you're no longer hoping the words show up, you know they will. If interviews have felt frustrating, if you've come close and not quite landed the offer, this is the first thing to fix, and it's completely within your control. Thanks for being here. In the next video, I'm going to break down the 3 biggest mistakes people make right after this question, the ones that quietly cost them the offer even when they nailed the opening. If this was useful, like the video, subscribe so the next one finds you, and drop a comment telling me the interview question you struggle with most. I read them, and they shape what I cover next. I'll see you in the next one, and good luck in that interview.